I think they all fall under subheadings of future of work, which I think more than any other category is going to influence the work that we do. I mean, if it's changing the way that people are working in their organizations, and at least in the corporate environment, if your work is based on supporting people who are working, then as their work changes, the way that we support it changes in kind. More than anything, I think one of the things that e-learning has evolved and has continued to support within that is around a shift from just specific programs to broader experiences, that we broken free from just these siloed programs to more of a connected experience through which people can learn and develop their skills. That we used to have, e-learning used to be defined as just a specific type of experience, usually following some sort of a course model, which still has its applications. But I think e-learning has expanded beyond that to adapt to the changing nature of work, where people are, and the changing nature of life in many ways. That we used to be an environment where if there was a problem, you needed to find someone to solve it. Well, we're increasingly in this self-service environment where people can just pull out their phones and solve problems on their own. And I think e-learning has evolved in a way to adapt to that behavior. And that's in many ways the way future work is going. The technology is enabling us to just do things in the moment, and e-learning has evolved to adapt to that need as well.
I think that social learning is bouncing back. I think that we're getting a new idea around that. I think you talk about that on your website, that people are getting, especially if we're not going to be in a space together, that we need to pay more attention to helping people understand how to mentor and coach, and to actually do it and not just get trained in it and then leave and go back to work and not do it anymore. So, I think to expand that to social learning, I think we're starting to get it now, that it doesn't have to be forced and managed and controlled and dictated, that people sort of crave that social connection. And absent that, they will be way more accepting when we provide it in some other format, right? I think we've seen that plenty this year. And I think it's great. I think it's wonderful that folks are starting to sort of get that we can learn together and maybe learn more from each other, and not have to be in that situation of learner in a chair being talked at. Right.
One thing that we learned is that a lot of organizations have been sluggish on their digital transformation. So if things were working in a traditional live event or seminar or sending your trainers out, organizations just kept on doing that year after year, even if they gave e-learning lip service or maybe had some digital events. There's a lot of organizations that hadn't made the leap, and COVID exposed that. And COVID really showed who the market leaders were in terms of their digital transformation with their learning. So I found a lot of organizations that were in the scramble mode of trying to put it together, put a Band-Aid on what they had, transform those live events, get anything online, even if it was bad, to be able to have that continuation of operations. So there was a lot of that, and that was, in some ways, that's good for the industry, because it really forced their hand to make that leap into the digital world that they probably needed to, and their competitors had done years before. But the second trend, much more optimistic, that I saw is organizations that had already made the leap and that had already embraced their digital transformation, use it as an opportunity to basically regroup, adapt for the post-COVID era. And so using it as an opportunity to restructure their businesses, double down on their investments, really focus on their digital transformation in ways that were much more centric to measurable business goals versus just reaction and putting a Band-Aid on. And so on our consulting desk, or what I see come across the consulting desk, are inevitably one in either of those groups. It's fun to help the newbies out, but it's really neat to see what the powerful organizations are doing now, that they had to really focus 100% of their efforts on it.
It's like many of the terms in our business, it has very many meanings to different people. So workflow learning is generally learning in the workflow. Using resources, maybe I go get a YouTube video and that gives me enough guidance to do something, or I get something that's specifically engineered for my job performance in my situation, a formal job aid or performance support. So workflow learning, so again, not everybody's going to agree with this, but it's learning in the workflow. But my take on that is that if I use a job aid, I may not really learn it. I may not memorize it. I may just use it, get the job done, and then go on. And the next time I have faced with that, I'll use that job aid. But if it's something in my performance context that I'm going to be doing every day, all day long, like if I'm a cash register, operator, and I need to look up how to handle certain transactions because I don't do them all the time, when I start, eventually I'm going to not need that job aid. I'm going to have memorized what I need to know in order to be able to do that. So the resource, instead of a course, it can be used as a crutch to help me learn over time. Or it can be my guidance that I need, and I don't need to learn or memorize anything other than how to find that when I need it, so I can use it, and that will guide me in doing my job.
Right now we're working with a major kind of industry association, very technically focused, and what their membership, which spans very large companies down to small 2-3 person shops, what they need more than anything are just these very brief, essentially how-to videos, the type of stuff that you can find on YouTube for so many things, to address specific instances in that flow of work, which I know was on your curve last year, to really help them pick up those skills when they need them, and in a way that they can apply them, but also in a way that's more trackable than just a YouTube experience, so you can actually measure it and see that the learning has actually happened. That certainly applies in more technical professions, but even for the acquisition of knowledge, as a field is developing. Personally, I don't need to sit in that many hour-long or 90-minute-long webinars. If you can give me a 10-minute snapshot of the most important thing I need to know about an emerging topic, I'm all over that.
Yeah, well, workflow. Most of my career has been spent on workflow learning solutions. In my mind, workflow learning is a rebranding of the idea of performance support. In a way, learning is a misnomer, because if you have a really good workflow learning solution, learning isn't the point. Learning is sometimes a byproduct, but the point is getting work done, performing. And TurboTax is still such a great example of this, where you answer a lot of questions and have examples and non-examples and descriptions and explanations, and it helps you eventually generate your completed tax forms. But have worked on a lot of different workflow learning solutions, and I think with the learning stack and learning is becoming, formal learning is becoming more experiential, more immersive, more adaptive, more chunked and micro. And so kind of there are advances in formal learning that will continue into 2021.